let's talk about some positivity. The NFL. Last night's game between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens.
Whew.
I mean, it was a great thrilling game, 35-34. Lamar Jackson. If you look at the numbers, and I gotta put undisputed world champ, I gotta put his feet to the fire. Lamar Jackson is third in the NFL in passing yards. He's tied second in the NFL in touchdown passes. He's only had 2 interceptions. He has a QBR of 77.6. He is on pace to throw for over 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns, 3 interceptions with a 123.2 passer rating. You know those types of numbers,
Oh
champ,
my god.
and you bring it up 2011, Aaron Rodgers. That was the year in
Oh
which he threw
my god.
45 touchdowns to only 6 interceptions. And you're the same undisputed world champ that argued for Drew Brees winning the MVP, rightfully so, because he almost led every statistical category. But I had no problem with Aaron Rodgers winning the league MVP that year because he still put up elite numbers behind a horrible defense. And Baltimore's defense this season, you cannot tell me they were what they were last season because they
Not even
gave up
close.
over 400 yards to Joe Burrow. They've been struggling throughout this season, champ. There's still plenty of football left to go. But if you want to make an argument for Lamar Jackson to win the MVP, I have no problem with it. The only person you would probably argue is Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills because he's putting up numbers, he's getting wins, and he doesn't have the talent. But what Lamar Jackson is doing to put up these types of numbers with that defense not playing this well this season. And yes, you can talk about Derrick Henry, but still Lamar Jackson still has to look sharp. And he's completing 69.1% of his passes and to put up these types of numbers. He's on pace to have Aaron Rodgers numbers. If any quarterback put up those types of numbers, they winning the MVP. And again, for a guy, and you brought up the Bill Polian, who didn't think that he was good enough to be a quarterback in the first place. I gotta say, man, Lamar Jackson right now is the leading candidate for MVP. Josh Allen, there's still other quarterbacks. BRF mentioned Jaden Daniels, but Lamar Jackson, man, it's going to be hard to say no for him for the MVP because of what he's been doing, the numbers that he's been putting up, and on top of that, Baltimore's defense is certainly not what they were last season. Give credits to the offensive coordinator from your Georgia Bulldogs, who's done a fantastic job with Lamar Jackson. This is the best we've seen Lamar as a passer, and he's only going to get better. And the beauty of it, he's only 27 years old. He'll be 28 in January. So he may win his third league MVP. He's already going to be a Hall of Famer. If his career ended today, I think he has enough of a case to be in the Hall of Fame. Those are my thoughts. I have Lamar Jackson right now for the league MVP, although you could argue Josh Allen or anybody else. But, Champ, I'm going to let you go first. What were your thoughts on last night's game? What were your thoughts on Lamar Jackson? And so much more.
Is he quarterbacky enough yet? Is he? I mean, y'all was talking a lot of noise last year, talking about I want my quarterback to be quarterbacky. So is it enough? Are you not entertained? What's the beauty of that game? It was a comeback win from 14 points down.
21-7.
Yes. And the thing was, people don't want to talk about this. The reason why Zach Taylor, the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, kept going for it and kept trying to keep them off the field on offense is because he didn't want Lamar back on the field. That's how dangerous Lamar is becoming. Do you know the last time a quarterback was that dangerous to the point where a head coach did not want to put somebody back on that field? The 4th and 14 play where Bill Belichick went for it, and they were playing against Peyton Manning. That's the last time we saw a coach that was so scared of the offensive quarterback on the other side of the ball that he would rather go for it on 4th and 14. I think it was 4th and 5, but I digress. He would rather go on it on 4th, go for it in his own on his own side of the field at 4th and 5 than give him back the ball. That is how great Lamar Jackson is being at this point. You are legit scared to give him back the ball. I mean, quick strikes too. Quick strikes. So, yeah, I hope he's quarterbacking enough for all the media members at this point. Number 2, Baltimore. Y'all, look, Ray Lewis, you was at the game last night. You need to have a talk with that defense. Because ain't no way that they should have just got ran roughshod up and down the field for 4. That don't even sound like the Baltimore Ravens, bro. That don't even sound like the Baltimore.
Jamar Chase over 200 yards receiving.
Yes, that don't even sound like. So Ray, big play Ray, you need to talk to that defense, man, because something in the milk ain't clean with that. I know y'all lost Coach McDonald to the Seattle Seahawks, but something's got to give at this point because there's just no way y'all are just getting ran up and down the field. And guess what? You're lucky that Lamar and that offense was able to keep up with them because, man, it was just going back and forth. Like I said in the video I made on TikTok, the OK Corral in Tombstone with Doc Holliday and Wilder didn't have nothing on Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson last night. They gave us 2 thrilling games that we're never going to forget this season. Those 2 games they played this year are game of the year. 2 of the highest scoring games that we've had this year. As far as Cincinnati goes, I'm going to steal some thunder from my 706 brother right now. That offense is equivalent to Matt Ryan's offense. I think it was, 2018?
I compared the year Joe Burrow was having to Matt Ryan's 2018 because at the time Cincinnati wasn't playing good ball, but Joe Burrow was playing in spite of what the rest of the team was doing.
Yes, and that is exactly what I mean. Him, the same way Matt Ryan and Julio Jones were still lighting up the league. That is the same way that Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow is lighting up the league right now because that defense ain't worth the salt and the bread at this point. I mean, it was just a matter of who was going to have the ball last. And luckily for that defense on the Baltimore Ravens, they was able to make the stop, controversially or not, by hook or crook. They was able to make a stop in order to, take Joe Burrow and not allow that 2-point conversion. But Lamar, this is the most dangerous we've ever seen him at this point. This is the most dangerous. Does this defense scare me? Could they sell him in the playoffs? Yes, they could. But the way he's playing right now to be able to go strike for strike with the Joe Burrow, who's considered a top 3 quarterback in the league, and you're defending your crown as the MVP, you're coming back even better than you were last year, and you're fresh off of an MVP, and you're setting the record books on fire. Like I said earlier, he's on pace to throw for 4,000 yards and go for over 1,000 yards rushing. That is possible. That is not something that is just in a dreamland that we're putting on Tecmo Bowl, Super Bowl, or Madden 2005.
41-3. That's on pace. He's projected to throw 41 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
Yes.
You put up, if those are Aaron Rodgers numbers.
Yes. So I think that right now, the way he's been playing, he is definitely the MVP. Plus, man, like I said, he don't have that defense to lean on like a Jared Goff at this point. If that offense starts sputtering, the Baltimore Ravens are going to struggle. So you definitely got to watch that, especially when they play the Steelers at this point. But I think that, Lamar is the shoe-in MVP at this point. Now, it's going to be interesting to see if this happens. If this happens, it's going to be interesting to see. If Derrick Henry, who's in double-digit touchdowns right now, he's on pace to score over 20 touchdowns. If he rushes for over 2,000 yards and gets like 22 touchdowns, it's going to be interesting to see, could they be the first team in the league with co-MVPs? That's going to be interesting. because although it's not a running backs award, it's going to be interesting to see how the voters do that, especially if Derrick Henry goes for over 20 touchdowns, I would say. Now, if he's in like 19, maybe. But if he goes for over 2,000 yards, especially if he breaks Eric Dickerson's record, which he's on pace to do at this point, it's going to be interesting to see if they give them, if co-MVP comes into the conversation, because he's on pace to break Eric Dickerson's record right now. You know, he already has 1,100 yards right now, and you still got, I think, 7 games left. You got 7 games left. And the Baltimore Ravens are averaging 130 yards a game. They're the highest scoring offense in the league. And to think, they didn't even feed Derrick Henry that much last night, and he still got almost 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. They didn't even feed him like they would normally feed him. So down the stretch, you're probably going to see them feed him a little bit more. So if that ends up happening, if you have 2 team members with like record-breaking season, where you have Lamar Jackson with 1,000 yards rushing and 4,000 yards passing, and then you have Derrick Henry with 2,000 yards rushing and breaks Eric Dickerson's record, it's going to be interesting to see what the voters do with that conversation and if they give them co-MVPs. Granted, we haven't seen that since Peyton Manning and Steve McNair. We haven't seen that since that time back in 2003.
Right.
And even then, it was unprecedented because they were both in the same division.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, ironically, the last 2 times we saw that co-MVPs, they always came from the same division. Remember, Barry Sanders and Brett Favre back in 97, they were in the same division. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Do I think that Lamar Jackson is the shoe-in MVP? Thus far, I will say, yes. But if Derrick Henry breaks Eric Dickerson's record, especially if he goes for over, let's say, 23 touchdowns, that's going to be an interesting conversation to have.
If he breaks Eric Dickerson's record, champ, for the most rushing yards in a season, do you think that would add validation to it? Because Adrian Peterson, he almost had that chance in 2012. He was like a few yards short.
I think that adds validation, and I think that proves that a lot of teams that didn't necessarily go after Derrick Henry, it proves them to be foolish at this point.
Dallas Cowboys.
I was trying to avoid that, if you don't mind. I was trying to.
Don't worry, we will discuss the Dallas Cowboys later on the
I was
Sports
trying
TSP
to avoid that, if you don't
But
mind.
BRF is
I got my cowboy hat and do the Stephen A.
I mean,
Hey! I'm just saying. For Jared Jones to come out and say he couldn't afford Derrick Henry, that's the biggest load of crap I've heard in the last like 5-6 years. If he wanted Derrick Henry, he could have got Derrick Henry. And the fact that he didn't get Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry is back to being,
and he works out in the offseason in Dallas.
worked out in. So why can't you get him, man, 8, 9? Why can't you get this man $8, $9, $10 million to come to Dallas and give Dak Prescott some help behind the line of scrimmage to where he's not getting destroyed week in and week out? But I digress. But quick off of the scope update real quick. I'm watching SmackDown. For everybody who supports women's wrestling like me, they just announced the Women's United States Championship. It's one of the prettiest belts you'll ever see. So I'm hoping they have a tournament down the line for it. I think it's awesome. But
that's awesome.
Back to the subject at hand.
But I think that's going to be an interesting conversation to have. That will definitely validate Derrick Henry. And like I said, a lot of teams will be proven foolish. But if he rushes for 2,000 yards for a second time, a lot of top 10 conversations need to be had about the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
And he's doing it at age 30 years old.
Mm-hmm.
If he gets a second 2K season, you can almost, people might get on me for this, you can almost start having top 5 consideration with Derrick Henry. If he gets a second 2K season, we're almost in top 5 talks with Derrick Henry. If he gets a second one.
Oh, I think he could be top 5 by the end of the season. That's not crazy to say anymore. I've been pushing the top 10 argument for years, and everyone said it's too early. Because
Nah, he's already there. He's already there.
he's already
He's already
there.
there.
He's already there. And if he breaks that rushing record, granted, he's on pace to go. The record's 2105. I can see him breaking it, and then you have to ask yourself. Then that makes the MVP conversation so much more trickier too. Because if Lamar keeps playing at this level, at this point, I think it's just going to be so interesting because this Ravens offense is like magical to watch.
Yep, it's gonna be. Hey, did Paul McCartney make that whole conversation?
Brother.
Did Paul McCartney make John Lennon, or did John Lennon make Paul McCartney? You're gonna have a lot of conversation like that, much like you had in I think it was '89 when Jerry Rice had broke the touchdown record, and then Joe Montana, he was at his greatest. I mean, even in 2000 when you had Marshall Faulk and Kurt Warner, well, 2001 with Marshall Faulk and Kurt Warner on the same team. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of conversation. It's going to be interesting to see if they open co-MVP questions. And you got to think about this with Derrick Henry. Out of a lot of running backs that rush for over 2,000 yards, including Eric Dickerson and Adrian Peterson, he fumbled the least.
That's
so
right.
You got to think about that, because remember, when Eric Dickerson broke that record, he fumbled the ball over 10 times that season.
Over 10?
Yes. He fumbled the ball.
I thought it was I thought it was less than that.
No,
I thought it was like 8.
He fumbled the ball 10 times that season.
What year, champ?
I think it was 1984. The only reason why he didn't win MVP was because of Dan Marino that year.
That was the 5,000 yard season, wasn't it?
Yeah, that 5,000 yard season. It was 1984. Because remember, he had this rush for 1,800 his rookie year.
Man, I was not even born. God.
Wait, champ, the year 1984 when he rushed for 2,100 yards.
Mm-hmm.
The fumbles that he had was 14.
He fumbled the ball over 10 times. He fumbled the ball 14 times. So
That's
and
crazy.
Derrick Henry, yeah, I know it's hard to believe, but yeah, he fumbled the ball over 10 times that season. So him and Adrian Peterson, if you look back on Adrian Peterson, he had fumble problems. Derrick Henry has the least amount of fumbles. And when you think about even Walter Payton, sometimes he fumbled up. He fumbled a little bit.
Here, the stats for Eric Dickerson right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Fumble.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, he fumbled the ball. I mean, and if you look on down when he had his greatest seasons in LA, his fumbles was always in double digits.
Yep. 13, 14, 10, 12, 7.
Yeah.
He fumbled 20 times that's 13 his rookie year, 14, 10. Good gosh, man.
Yeah,
that's hard to believe, man.
He had a huge
That's hard to believe.
Yeah, he fumbled 20 times his rookie year. Or it's not his rookie year, excuse me.
No,
13.
13.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the return rate.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see if he rushes for over 2,000 and surpasses that record. Does he get bumped up into conversations above AP and Eric Dickerson, considering their fumble problems? Got to ask yourself that question.
You actually got to ask. You really got to, champ, because at 6'3", 260, and to be playing this elite at age 30, and you got to give it to him.
Yeah,
the man is still a 4.4 40-yard dash, man.
But as big as he is, he can get you 70, 80 yards. But champ, if you put him in the top 5, would you say he's above guys like a Marshall Faulk, a LaDainian Tomlinson, guys like that?
I would.
To be honest with you, I will put him over Marshall.
I wouldn't put him over LT though. Not yet.
I would not put him over LT.
I'm not putting him over LT yet because the thing is,
put him over Marshall.
The thing is with Derrick Henry, I put him over Marshall too. The thing is with Derrick Henry, the thing is, ever since high school, this dude has been unstoppable. From high school, because this man rushed for 12,000 yards or the high school. That it was so bad they had to put a rule in his high school district where once he hit a certain limit, he couldn't play anymore. He goes to Alabama, wins the Heisman, and is one of the top rushers in the SEC. He broke the SEC rushing record in his junior year.
Yeah.
And that record hadn't been broken for 20 years. Then goes to the league. Absolutely. He is in his 30s. There's not a lot of running backs at this age who can perform at the output that we're seeing from Derrick Henry. And my biggest thing is, if he breaks Dickerson's rushing record, man, we're going to have some conversations about him being one of the top 5 greatest running backs to ever play. Because this dude has not had a season where he hasn't slowed down. And there's a lot of times with running backs in this league, they hit a certain point, and then the older they get, they got to decline. Not Derrick Henry. He continues to get better. And that's so insane to me. Like, I've seen, there's stuff on Twitter. Go look at this on Twitter. His workout regimen, what he does for his body.
His diet, too.
His diet. Like, we talk about what LeBron James does at 40 years old to keep himself healthy and maintain the same level. Derrick Henry does the exact same, and that's why he's performing at this level. So I see a world where if he wins this MVP and breaks that rushing record, you're going to have that top 5 conversation, man. Because that dude, for him to be dominant, not just at high school and in college and still at that level, but doing it still at a peak that we keep seeing increase, it's unbelievable to watch as just a fan of the game. Like, because there's not a lot of running backs who could do that at this level.
Yeah. And I think it's comparable to add this. When Walter Payton won his first MVP in 1977, he fumbled the ball 11 times. That's Walter Payton. Throughout his whole
Shout
career.
Out Jackson State.
Yeah, shout out to Jackson State,
Shout out to my Jackson
HBCU. HBCU. And it's comparable to add this. Derrick Henry's only fumbled the ball 19 times in his career. You think about Walter Payton. When you think about Walter Payton, Adrian Peterson, even Eric Dickerson, each of them are in the 80s when it comes to fumbles in their careers.
It's ridiculous.
So you have to think about this. So
19 times. Good.
Oh yeah, his diet. I saw this. This is ridiculous. He doesn't eat fried food, no dairy, no gluten, no sugars. He doesn't eat until 4 or 5 o'clock during the season. So you keep in mind, he's not eating during the entire day until late in the evening.
I'm not gonna lie. That's kind of like the UFC.
That's like some diet. Superhuman stuff that you don't see from a lot of dudes. That's why he's performing at this level. That's big reason.
That's why I would never. This is why I would never do football in the first place, just because of that. I mean, I did sports before. Like, I did baseball, I did wrestling, but like, I don't know. I don't know how can you do that in the first place.
That's just a matter of being dedicated to your body. That's a matter of wanting to hone your craft to be the best possible player he can be. And sometimes that comes with extreme measures. But shout out to Derrick Henry for being able to, put that kind of work in and be able to dedicate himself to being in the best possible shape he can. Like, shout out. I'll add a little bit of some stuff. I'll add a little stuff in there. Well, for one, to talk about the game last night. For one, shout out to Jamar Chase. He is a Triple Crown leader for wide receivers. 66 catches, 981 yards, 10 touchdowns. Leads all NFL wide receivers in all 3 categories. Cincinnati, yeah, I agree. If Cincinnati don't give him the money, somebody gonna give it to him.
Somebody better give him the money.
If Cincinnati don't give it to him, somebody gonna give it to him. The man leads the NFL in all wide receivers in all 3 categories. Jamar Chase is like, he's reasserted himself, and you love to see it. But that was man, the two all right, if you combine both games, the combined score is 76-72. That's how close both games were. Decided by 4 points combined. That's how close those games were. And I said it's a 3-man race with Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow last night did nothing to throw me off of that. I think you could put Joe Burrow in as the third leg here in this 3-man race as far as the MVP race. That man threw for over 400. I mean, Joe Burrow's lighting it up. He's lighting up. The only reason why he probably won't get more consideration is because of the Cincinnati Bengals.
Not doing good.
They're an inconsistent team right now, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. They're an inconsistent team, but we know one thing for certain, boy. That offense is gonna get it in. We know one thing for certain about Cincinnati. That offense is going to get it in, and that offense has been playing a lot better. So
Mhm.
that was definitely an amazing game. Like, and it's funny because I was watching the game last night. Let's see, it was 20. Yeah, it was 21-7. And then I think I had to leave. I left. I had to leave. I think I had to get me a little, it was a little late, but I went and got me a little something to eat. So I left. Next thing you know, I come back. I'm like, why am I not surprised it's 21-20? Like when I when I saw it was 21-7, I'm like, I was like, Cincinnati, they're gonna maybe not. Baltimore's gonna come back because Baltimore is just too good of an offense to not make this a ball game. And next thing you know, I come back and it's a 1-point game, and it's Baltimore's offense is operating in such a god tier level right now, and there's balance. I mean, they have an amazing amount of balance with their running game, with the way the offensive line is blocking for the running game, and then the passing game just being like, I don't think I've ever seen the Baltimore Ravens in a passing mode like this since Lamar Jackson has been the quarterback. I've never seen them this in tune throwing the ball. Lamar Jackson had 24 passing touchdowns all last season. He's already got 24 now. I mean, the man has just been on point. The man has been on point. And then add to the fact that he is threatening 1,000 rushing yards. Let's not forget he's threatening 1,000 rushing yards. So imagine if this brother gets 4,000 passing and 1,000 rushing. And let's say he throws 35, and let's say he throws 35 and 40 touchdowns. It might be like we're talking about top 10 greatest offensive season ever. I mean, Lamar Jackson is just this is the scariest he has ever looked. And this is the one thing that we've been waiting. This is the one thing we've been waiting on is his passing being what it is right now. I mean, his completion percentage is usually always respectable, but it's never been this high. I mean, we've never seen this level before. This is like that ceiling that we've kind of expected from Lamar Jackson. We've been waiting for him to hit this ceiling, and homeboy is starting to scratch that ceiling a little bit. He's been doing it this year, and you got to shout out. He should definitely be the favorite to win the MVP. I mean, if the season ended right now, I think you do have to give it to him. Even though I feel like Josh Allen, in terms of the value definition, definitely fits the criteria. But bro, the MVP is a numbers-driven award, and if Lamar keeps doing this, I don't think you can't keep the award out of his hands. You just can't.
Mr. PSP, can I say something?
Yes, go ahead, Harrison. I was going to ask you.
Okay, sorry. I mean, uncrustable right now. But either way, the one thing I'm disappointed on Derrick Henry. Here's the reason why. And no, it's not because he played fine, but I need 4.5 rushing yards on my prize pick, and he failed me.
Oh,
bro,
God.
failed me. I need 4.5.
Brother,
you're not the only one. I've
call it gambling addiction number, for God's sake.
Shout out to Broad because he was also complaining about Derrick Henry's numbers as well.
Yeah, but no, listen, it was nothing against Derrick Henry. It's just like Lamar was. Listen, can we just say this right now? Can we please just stop calling Lamar Action Jackson a running back, please? Because
thank you,
please. Because honestly, it's been going on since 2019. Like, please get them, bro. He's playing like a top 5 quarterback right now, and Joe Burrow is playing like the second or third best quarterback in the league right now. You can compare him. You want to say
he quarterbacky enough? Remember, quarterbacky.
Listen, it's like what a PSP. So it's like what you say about like pancakes and waffles about Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. You can do that either way, but Joe Burrow is by far the second best quarterback in the league.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Go ahead, champ.
Go ahead.
If Lamar Jackson keeps this up and gets to and wins the Super Bowl this year, Does he pass Steve Young as the best running quarterback in history?
Ooh.
He's already done that, bro. He's already done
What?
that. He's already done that,
Wow.
bro. Lamar Jackson already has a Lamar. Doesn't he have multiple 1,000-yard seasons as a quarterback?
Yeah, he has.
Yes.
Let me double check because I could swear.
And he's also won multiple MVPs. Remember, he was the first since Brady to win the MVP unanimously.
Best running quarterback of all time is already over. Lamar been past Steve Young, and I love me some Steve Young. Lamar Jackson been past him. He's already best running quarterback of all time. Already.
If he wins a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP, that's just the nail in the coffin for a Hall of Famer. First ballot.
First ballot.
First ballot if he gets all that, most def.
He's doing something that Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers have done in this generation, win multiple MVPs, because of all the other great quarterbacks that we've talked about with Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. No other quarterback has done what Lamar Jackson has done outside of Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And again,
He's had two.
Go ahead.
He's had two. So I just checked. He has had two multiple 1,000-yard rushing seasons. He had one in 2019 and one in 2020. 2019 he went 1206. He went 1206, and in 2020 he had 1,005. So.
And the crazy, and
that's not crazy.
I'm gonna throw this on there because Grant brings up 2019. That's the first MVP year where he ran for the 1,200 yards. Homeboy threw for 36 touchdowns that year.
Led the NFL in touchdown passes.
Led the league in touchdown passes that year.
Wait, and guess what was his weapons? Willie Snead. I mean, old Des Bryant.
He had nothing really going for him, and he managed to make it work. Which
he had
is crazy.
who else?
And Hollywood Brown.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Hollywood. Thank you, champ.
And Greg Roman did a good job though, calling them plays as the offensive coordinator as well too.